And this week we have Dr. Les Glassman, who some of you already know. He is known, as you know, he's a dentist, but he's also known to our group because on the side, he does all sorts of interesting additional things. And one of the things he does is interview Holocaust survivors and puts your stories out there for people to listen to and for the world to see and know what happened. So a very important job, and thank you very much. And today, Dr. Les is going to be talking about all sorts of different things, I feel. So I'm going to hand over to him, who's going to be talking a bit about his life and a bit about dentistry.
Debbie, thank you so much. And I really want to thank you all for coming this afternoon. And it is really, I always say to everybody, it's the greatest honor and a privilege. And to be at Cafe Europa, sorry, Cafe Europa. Really, it is, really, I cannot tell you how I appreciate it. Because each one of you are so special. And I know Baruch Hashem I've met previously, and it's just such an honor to be here today. So I think the title of the talk was A Dental Journey, the last 40 years from Joburg to Jerusalem. And I'm going to start off, I must tell you, there were three men walking in the desert. Patrick, Hans, and Abi. 3 men walking in the desert. And Patrick turns around and he says, I'm so tired. I'm so thirsty. I must have the French wine. Hans looks at him and he says, I'm so tired. I'm so thirsty. Yeah, I must have the German beer. Abi looks at him and he says, I'm so vermatted. I'm so tired. I'm so thirsty. I must have diabetes. I'm just going to show a little video about... Very kind this time. My mouth, you're not going to watch? Silly man, you. Just open your mouth, will you please? Keep it open. Take your head off the transmission. I'm going to show you exactly where the tooth is. That's fine. Where is it? Keep your hands out of your mouth. Want to poison yourself? Here it is. The tooth. I pulled a tooth. It's my first tooth. I'm a dentist. I wanted to pull Okay, so I've got 2 brothers that are also dentists, and you think, why on earth would I decide to go into a profession, and my brothers, where every day you'd have patients complaining? Why would you want to do a profession where patients would come in and this hurts and that hurts? But the truth is, when I was growing up, our favorite uncle was our dentist. And we used to go, and we used to love going. We'd get prizes. We found it fascinating, and we never had a bad experience. So when I applied for dentistry, I actually went to the interview with my kipaon, and nobody, my parents or my brothers didn't say to me, don't wear your yarmulke. I had no idea who was going to interview me. And what's interesting in South Africa, I went for the interview in 1983. In 1983 in South Africa, the Jewish community totaled around 70, maybe 80,000 Jews, out of a population of more than 50 million. And it was the only English-speaking dental school in the country, and they only accepted 60 students. So the chances of getting in, and there were many, many applicants, the chances of getting in were like pretty low. About 1/3 of the dental school was actually Jewish, the student enrollment, and I'd say about 40 to 50% of the professors and the lecturers were Jewish. But I was very fortunate they accepted me. No problem. They accepted me with one condition, and I never understood the condition. They said in the middle of dentistry, there were 6 of us. We need to do a year of dental research, and we'd get another degree, oral biology. So after 3rd year, out of those 6, only 2 of us, 2 Yin, my partner and myself, we passed, and we got that extra degree. I never really understood why I had to do the extra degree, but I did. Later on, I really realized it was Hashem's hand in it. But when I went after being accepted, and on the very first day of the registration, the registrar came to us, and we all, 60 of us, standing there in our white coats, and she says, look on your right and look on your left. One of you will not be here next year. And we thought, gee, this is like unbelievable. And she said, and another one of you most probably will have to repeat one of the years. So we thought this is pretty serious. And thank God, every year I had to work exceptionally hard, but I passed, thank God. My brothers passed. And
was it 4 years?
No, it was 5.5 years, and I did an extra year of research. So I just want to show you, the dental school was a unique place. In South Africa at that time, in the 80s and early 90s, before Mandela was released, we really experienced apartheid. And when you hear today people labeling Israel as an apartheid state, they really do not understand what apartheid is. Because there were separate hospitals, there were separate ambulances. You know, if there was a black person that was injured and lying on the street and a white ambulance went, it would just drive past. Because a white ambulance could not stop for a black patient. It was horrendous. You lived in different areas, there were different buses, there were different... Blacks couldn't go into a 5-star hotel, they couldn't go into the cinemas, they couldn't go into the sports fields. There were different schools. It was really, apartheid meant total separation and total inequality. But at the Wits Dental School and UCT in Cape Town, the 2 English-speaking universities, it was very liberal. And blacks were treated just the same as whites. And black patients were also treated just the same as white patients. And the other place where also, and people don't know this, but the other place where blacks were never ever excluded or were ever told to leave was in a Jewish shul or a hall. And there were incidents where black farmers would go to the Afrikaans or English farmer, when he died, they'd go to the church and they were kicked out of the church. Things were really, really heavy, but at Wits it was very liberal. So we had a lot of Indians, blacks, coloreds. It was like a little mini United Nations. And I'm just going to show you, this is at the dental school. I hope it comes on. So here I had much more hair in those days, but those were the staff, and I wore a yarmulke. I wore a yarmulke, and in those days, I'm ashamed to say, but we never had a mask. We never had gloves. We treated without gloves and without a mask. Only later, with surgery, we had put on a mask and gloves. Today, I would never dream of treating anyone without a mask or gloves. But those were the days.
They sterilized the equipment?
Yes, no, that was all sterilized. That was ready. Now, in 1982, if you remember, there was the Lebanese War. Yeah. And on Wits campus, I joined all the Jewish Students Association. There were soldiers. I was quite active in shul affairs and student affairs, and they had demonstrations, and there were a lot of pro-Israel demonstrations, and a lot of the non-Jewish students joined us in the pro-Jewish demonstrations, pro-Israel demonstrations. And one day I come to class, I come to university, and the dean calls me in, and he opens up this newspaper. It was the Rand Daily Mail, and he says, "What are you doing in the front of the paper?" Because there you'll see somebody with a white, we called it a safari suit, but a white, so I couldn't believe, but that was the photo they took of that. It was a pro-Israel demonstration at Wits in 1982.
Black had the free clinic or something?
Okay, so what happened is that the black patients got very subsidized. In fact, it was virtually for free. And I had a patient once, a black lady, that she had no teeth for many, many years. And we used to do dentures. We had to make the dentures. We had to take the impressions. There were no laboratories. We had to do it all ourselves. And I'm treating this black lady, and it took a few weeks. You had to take all the impressions, and we do the molds, and then we made the dentures. And then I gave her the dentures, and then she looked at me and she said, and she spoke English, broken English, but she said, for many years I couldn't eat. I could never smile. And when she put in the dentures, she started to cry. And I said to her, why are you crying? I couldn't believe it. I thought maybe she's upset with me. Maybe she wasn't so happy with the dentures. She said, no, these are tears of joy. She says, I look so beautiful. And then I realized that a smile can really change one's life. And for this lady, her whole life had changed. With those dentures, she really looked so different, so beautiful. And for years, she couldn't eat, and it just made her look like a mensch. And she was so happy. This is the first graduation. It was in 1981. So you can see I'm wearing a yarmulke there. It was, to graduate, it was true. When they said that 1 in 3 wouldn't be here the following year, it was really true. Many of my friends didn't make it to the next year. There were some that failed, some even failed twice. Thank God I passed every year, and we graduated on the first year. This was for the first degree. And I never understood, why did I have to do that extra year? So in my final year, and dental school was really, really difficult. In the final year, I met my first and only girlfriend. I'll just show you. Lucy. And we went to the dental ball when I graduated. After 3 weeks of meeting her, we decided to get engaged. And friends of mine, it was my only girlfriend. I never had a girlfriend before, but there were friends of mine that were going out for years. They broke up. The pressure was so enormous. There were even couples that were married that got divorced because the pressure of passing was so enormous. And here I'm getting engaged. And interestingly, the best I ever did was in my final year. So that's, and then I understood, if I wouldn't have had to do that extra year, I wouldn't have met my wife. Because I would have gone to England or something, so it was all mina shamayim. Now at the dental ball was held at the Oxford, thank you, the dental ball, that's why she's my only girlfriend I ever had, but the dental ball was held at the Oxford Shul Hall. And in those days, we're talking about, it was, we graduated in 84. Blacks could not go or mix with whites even in a 5-star hotel. There was no way where blacks and whites could even mingle. But in the Oxford Shul Hall, we all were together. The non-Jews were so happy because there was a lot of liquor. They enjoyed all the different type of whiskies. And the Yidden were all happy because the food was so well catered. It was kosher catered. And it was an amazing dental ball. And everyone got on so well. And that was our dental ball. Then after...
Is your wife also dentist?
No. But she did work as a secretary once. And once she actually helped me when I was after dental school, we had to go into the army. In those years, South Africa was fighting a war in Angola. And our family was very liberal. We were brought up, I had nothing against blacks, I had nothing against Angolans. I did not want to go into the army. So I actually got an exemption, very luckily, and I actually went into the Department of Health. And I worked, this was a government department, but we worked for the main Johannesburg hospital, which was a white hospital, and for the black hospital, Baragwanath, which is still the biggest hospital in the Southern Hemisphere, and in the townships, in a place called Soweto, where there are 1 million people. And I worked in a clinic, in a clinic where there was no electricity. Most of Soweto didn't have electricity for 1 million people. The conditions were unbelievably bad. Kids there came for dental treatment because it was basically for free, but there was no private dentistry. There wasn't even electricity.
How'd you work your drill?
So they had generators. And in this main Zola clinic, we had a generator. And I was working there, and I wore my yarmulke all the time. I never once had anti-Semitism, not in Baragwanath Hospital, not in Joburg Hospital. People respected it, but we all got on very well. But what was amazing in the Baragwanath Hospital, this is the main hospital in Soweto, where there's 1 million black people living there. In the hospital, they had a canteen where the white doctors were separate to the black doctors. They had two separate canteens. When we look back at it, it's hard to believe it. But we refused to eat in the white canteen. We had our own sandwiches anyway, and we joined the Indian, and there were a lot of other Jewish doctors in the black canteen. But that's how it was in those days. So what happened is that I was working in these clinics, and once I heard a tremendous noise. We ran out of the clinic, and I saw these kids running down the street, and they had hijacked a Coca-Cola van. And they had taken all the Coke tins of the van, and they were throwing it around. And they saw me standing there. I had a white coat on, and they offered me some Coke, free Coke. But I said, no, I can't take. But then it became very dangerous. This was in 84, this was 85, 86. And they said, we have to go in convoys. And I thought, what am I doing here? Why should I go in a convoy? They said, you might even need to take a gun. I thought, no, this is not for me. My brother opened up a practice in Alberton, in a suburb called Verwoerd Park. Now, if any of you remember, the architect of apartheid was Verwoerd. And this area was called Verwoerd Park. It was the Afrikaans area just outside Johannesburg. And he opened up a clinic. And I joined him, and we had a mezuzah on the door. And what was amazing is that it didn't even occur to us, but every patient could come into the waiting room or the reception area and be treated like anyone else. So once I was treating a patient when I first started, and I had an Afrikaans nurse, and we did the fillings, whatever we did, and afterwards I said to my nurse, can you pass me the glass? And she looked at me, you know, they say with such a stare and with such like hatred in her eyes, I didn't know what was going on. And the patient drank from the glass, and then she said to me, how dare you give the same glass to a black that I'm drinking from? And she resigned. And you know, I didn't even realize at the time what I was doing. I didn't realize that this was such a big deal. But it really was a big deal. There were many dentists in that area that would not treat blacks. They would only have them, if they wanted to, that they'd come at the back and they would do just extractions. And they would not allow them to sit in the front with the other patients.
So who treated the blacks? The Jewish doctors?
So the Jewish, mainly Jewish doctors or Indian doctors. And then I had a black patient that we treated, and she needed to have surgery. And I sent her to a private clinic in Alberton, and that night I went to see her. I had a very good connection with her. And I go to the ward, and she's not there. So I asked the matron, where's my patient? So she said, you know, the ladies were very upset to have a black woman in the ward with them, so she was taken to Joburg. They had to take her by ambulance to Joburg. She couldn't be, and this was in a private clinic. That was the days. But what happened is, it was just amazing that we had patients, and I'm going to show you a few of the treatment that we did. But I had one patient, I just want to show you here. I'm going to skip a little bit ahead. Well, I'll go over here. This is, we were taught, you know, that a dentist, the parents should go outside and you should treat the patients. But at our dental school, they said no. The parents should be in the chair, in the room with the child. And so this I would put on, but we would do the opposite. And I'm just going to show you this. Possibly could be the very first, and maybe the only at those days, black child that had orthodontic treatment. Because there were very few.
Who did it? Who did this?
I did the orthodontic treatment, yeah. So he needed to have braces. You can see his teeth are all crooked. But because we treated black patients equally as white patients, so this is, I'd never seen a black kid or any blacks with orthodontics in those days.
I hope he thanked you very much.
This is just a little bit, I was very, what happened is that a lot of the patients, the area that we worked in, it was quite a poor area, so they couldn't go to the private specialists. So the medical aids allowed us to do as dentists, but we told the patients that we dentists, we're not specialists, but we did compromise dentistry with orthodontics. And here, this is a patient, I don't even remember her name, but this was the before and the after.
Whoa.
And I used to really enjoy it because you can see, it's amazing, from this picture and at the end picture, the smile, all of a sudden, from no smile to a tremendous smile. And she was so happy at the end of the treatment, and the parents were so happy. And they paid medical aid rates, which was about a third that it would have been at a private specialist. Okay, and this is a little boy that also, it's called a crossbite, where if we wouldn't have treated him for the rest of his life, his bottom tooth would have been in front of the top tooth. And just by putting a plate in and moving the teeth, you can see also how the second picture, how he's smiling, and the first picture he's not smiling. So you really realize that the teeth has such an effect on a person, not only on the way they eat, but their whole character, it can change their lives. It was a big honor to do this, and I really enjoyed doing the orthodontics. Now here is a case, a very interesting case. You don't see, this is a Hindu lady. In South Africa, there's about 1 million Indians, about 600,000 are Muslim, and about 400,000 are Hindu. And the Hindu and the Jews actually got on pretty well. The Muslims, in our class we got on well, but there have been problems. But here, you can see from the caste system, they have the red dot on their face. Now, if you look at these two pictures, you don't see too much of a difference, right?
Right.
And then I'll pass it around. Now these pictures were taken by a very close friend of mine who was a Greek maxillofacial surgeon. And I used to assist him. And I just want to show you, this was not from a textbook, this is from his own treatment. And he changed her whole profile. So when you look from the side, it's incredible what he did. And I assisted in the operation.
Is there an implant?
No, he advanced the lower jaw. It's called orthognatic surgery. His name was Costa, and Costa said to me, and I had a very close, he was in my class, he said to me, Les, you will not believe it, but he said, you know, the Jewish dentists referred to me, but I've never once got ever a referral from a Greek dentist. And I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So I said, Costa, that can't be. He said, it's true. He said, the Jewish guys referred to me, but no Greek dentist has ever referred to me. And, you know, it dawned on me, you know, the Yidden, we would refer, here in Israel, in South Africa, we always would refer to each other. We had such a good, and we still have, a tremendously good connection between all of us. But you see in some other, like in the Greek community, there was a lot of jealousy, and he said it was because of jealousy. But he was a superb surgeon, and this was his work. So and then he gave me copies of the treatment that he did, so I can pass it around. But he actually changed this patient's, her whole profile, her whole life. And then I just want to show you, this is when I graduated. So in order to practice, we had to put, in South Africa, everybody had to put their sign up, where they got their degree. And so people who went to the dentist knew if they got their degree from a good university, or if they got it from Eastern Europe. But it was in Israel, unfortunately, they don't. In Israel, you don't know who you're seeing. There could be somebody who got their degree from Eastern Europe, or we don't know where from. But in South Africa, I don't know if it's still, but at one time, whoever practiced, you had to put your sign up. So I'm just going to show you some other cases. So in those days, this was before implants, or implants were still starting. So this is a patient that we did from having no teeth, and she used to have a plate which always used to fall out. We did a bridge. So you can see these before and after. And you can see also how it changed her whole features and her whole smile. Now, this was a very, very interesting case. This is a patient that came, and we took x-rays. And at the bottom of his lower teeth, I always take x-rays on the top and the bottom, and patients say to me, why are you doing on the front? It's because of him. Because I took an x-ray on the bottom and I saw there was a cyst. And we managed to get it in time, and it was a malignant cyst. Whoa. So they took out, because it's very rare to have these two lower teeth removed, and it saved his life. And then we had to put dentures in, but it saved his life. And we take, this is called a panoramic x-ray. Right. And on this x-ray you can see this is somebody else's, but you can see there's a black area which is a cyst. So by taking an x-ray, it really saved his life. And what happened is when I diagnosed it, that they had this cyst, I actually went to a top maxillofacial surgeon, one of the very best, and I referred him. And the surgeon came back to me and he said, you know, I'm going to consult with a dental school, and I'm going to consult with other specialists. And when they did the operation, I was there as well. It lasted many hours. There were other maxillofacial surgeons doing the operation. And you know, that he mentioned that he's going to consult and get a second opinion remained with me, because it's so important. And if I can give a bit of advice, it's always so important to get a second opinion and to know the limitations. And when we were still at dental school, our professors one day decided that they're going to have a lecture for us, which out of all the lectures that I ever attended in dentistry in my life, it was the most significant. Because the whole lecture was on their mistakes. And they showed us the mistakes that they had done. These were all the top professors. And we looked and we couldn't believe that these were the people that we revered, that we were petrified of, that were marking us, but they were showing us their mistakes. And we said to them, but why are you showing us your mistakes? So they said, because you must never repeat what we did. You must always put your patient first. They come first. And you know, it was, in those days, our dental school was one of the top, they say that in the top 5 in the world. But we had the most incredible professors that really put their, they looked at the patient as the number one, not their own egos, it was just amazing. And going to that lecture is something that I will never forget. It was something quite unique. My wife and I were always very Zionistic, and in 1994, they had the elections, and I was still doing orthodontic treatment in South Africa with my brother, and I had cases that were on the go. And they instituted a dental exam in Israel, which was terrible because before there was no exam, and all of a sudden they had an exam. And this exam, they made it so difficult because they didn't want more dentists to come. There were too many dentists. So they made it virtually impossible to pass. And we were determined to make Aliyah, and we actually did make Aliyah before even passing. And then I thought, if I don't pass, I'll still go back to South Africa and work in South Africa, and I'll have to commute. There are many dentists that commute, that they work in the States and they live here. Anyway, thank God I did pass the exam, but it was very difficult. It was exceptionally difficult. I had to go to Tel Aviv University and Hebrew University, and there was a very high failure rate. But my brother said to me, you have such a connection, and I did. You know, we worked in this place, Alberton, which the majority of the people weren't Jewish. And they could go to any dentist they wanted. We had a mezuzah on the door. I wore a yarmulke. Later on, my brother decided to wear a yarmulke as well. And they chose to come to us. And we had such a good connection. I would go back in July and December, which were the holiday periods, and other dentists would close up for December and July. And they would refer to us their emergency patients because we would treat them, and then we would refer back. We never took anyone's patients away. So it was really worth my while going back to South Africa. I kept the connection. My mother was there, and I kept connection, very close connection with the Jewish community. So I worked here both in Israel and in South Africa. And being in South Africa in the early years, I actually saw how advanced dentistry was in South Africa. And in Israel, it was not as advanced. And through the years, I've seen a total shift where Israel's become one of the world leaders, and South Africa, unfortunately, has gone down terribly. But it was an amazing thing. And when coming to Israel, I was very fortunate. I joined my brother. We worked in Rechavia, and then I also worked at a charity clinic called Chazda Yitzhak. The menahelet of the clinic was Tzipi Lau, Rabbi Lau's wife. And it was a big honor, and it still is. I still work there. And, you know, it's been such an honor to see patients, Haredi patients in Rechavia. You see everyone. I have the ambassador, the very first South African ambassador to Palestinian Authority, came to see me. Couldn't believe it. And I have a kippah on, and we became very close. And he sent me his girlfriend, who he later married, a Palestinian, and her sisters. And we all get on very well. And you know, you have to look, this is how we were taught and we were brought up. Everybody's an individual, and everybody needs to have the same treatment, irrespective of your religion, your race. And that's the way, you know, we've always treated the patients. So I'm going to show you here in Israel some of the patients, maybe you'll know some. This was a very special person who actually came originally from Germany, and he had no teeth, and we gave him dentures. And this is before the implants. Now we're doing more implants. I don't do so many dentures anymore. But it changed his life just from a denture. It was.
How much is an implant?
So that's a problem with the price. Now this lady was one of my most, I've got many, many favorite patients, and every patient is favorite. But she was over 100, and she had all her teeth. If you look very closely, she had caps on some of the teeth, but she had all her teeth.
How old was she?
Over 100. And she was upset that she couldn't floss her teeth. She said, I just can't put the floss between my teeth. So her metapelet would have to floss her teeth for her. But that really upset her that she couldn't floss her teeth. But she kept her teeth till the very end. And this is just an example of before and after. There's so many things that you can do in dentistry, just from cleaning the teeth and from looking after them. Okay, now...
Are you still working?
very much so. So, from doing dentistry, we started to doing implants, and I just want to show you an example of what an implant is. So an implant is, and I'll pass this around, an implant is like a false root. The problem with implants is that they become it's very expensive. It doesn't matter, I'll lift up later, it's fine. And today, instead of doing dentures, today often you can do implants, but the price is quite expensive, and hopefully it will go down with the time. But doing the dentistry, I've been very privileged to be able to help patients and to change their smiles and in a way change their lives. But more important than that, I've been able to connect with the patients, and I've been very, very fortunate to know who my patients are and to know who the families are. And I just want to show you, I don't know if any of you ever met Esther Golan. She was a kinder transport. She lived in Recovery. Before that, she lived in Haifa, and she came to see me as a patient. And in those days, you'll see, she invited me to come to her home, and I thought I must take my daughters. So this is just a small little clip. Oh, there's no sound. Okay, it doesn't matter, but you can see this is like about many years ago. There was Esther Golan, and with my younger daughter, and she had a German helper, a young German student who came to help her. I don't know why this is.
She needed a lot of that.
There's my other daughter.
Esther.
And it was because of Esther that I became so interested in the Shoah, because she told me a story. In those days I didn't video. I wish I would have asked her, Esther, just tell me what happened to you and let me just video your story. But it ignited this tremendous interest to know about the Shoah, and I started reading books on the kinder transport and reading more books on the Shoah. And having met patients and having met many of you, for me it's been just the greatest honor and privilege to be able to come into a patient's home or somebody's home and for them to relate their life story to me, and that we can document it, and it's there for everyone. So I just want to show you, we had as a patient, he was from I don't know if you can see it, from the Consul General from Spain. And when he left, his wife was Jewish, but I got him very well. He asked me if I could attend he was also an artist. He had his artwork, it was in a gallery, and I went to see the opening, and he gave me this painting, and I treasured, and I have it in the surgery. And what happened with this is from a patient. We took x-rays, and I took x-rays at the very back because I wanted to see her wisdom tooth. And she said to me, what do we need to have the back x-ray for? I'm sure it's okay. And I said to her, Ms. Weisberg, I have to do it because that's how we were trained. You don't want to take a chance. And we took an x-ray right at the very back, and I saw a cyst. And Baruch Hashem, we saw the cyst, and it was treated, and it was a malignant cyst. So she was very grateful. So she gave me, it was just a little token of appreciation. And this, this is actually from a Palestinian patient.
Wow.
So they hand embroidered, and I was very, very taken aback when they gave it to me. So this is the panoramic X-ray. It's just an idea of what goes on. And there've been many cases, I don't know if you can see from here, where you have wisdom teeth and you have the nerve. And even last week, I had a patient who said to me that her dentist said that the tooth has to come out, and she sent me the X-ray. I said, but the nerve, the root is inside the nerve. If you take out that tooth and you damage the nerve, you can have like a permanent paresthesia. That means half the jaw will be numb forever. So I advised her not to have it and only to go to the top surgeon. But there, unfortunately, many cases where they will just have it out and with very dire consequences. So one has to be so careful. And my advice is, so this I have to explain. When the patients come, I tell them there's a few things. One thing I ask, do you eat dates? Do you eat dates? So I had a patient, a young boy, such a lovely boy. He would come every 6 months, very yekesha, very, makpid on his teeth. All of a sudden, I take our x-rays, and I see in every single back tooth, there's a hole. There's decay. I couldn't believe what was going on. So I said to him, like, why are you eating toffees? What's going on here? So he said he doesn't eat any toffees. So I said, but something's happening. So my wife was watching in those days Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah Winfrey was very big on writing a journal. So I said to him, you know what? For 1 week, whatever you put in your mouth, whatever you drink or eat, you're going to write it down. He came back after a week. And every day he was learning smicha. He'd go to the local markolet. He'd get a bag of dates. And he ate 10 to 20 dates a day. And the dates are so sticky that it went in between the teeth. And he only flossed at night, but it had already, the decay had got in, and it started eating away his teeth. So I tell so many patients, if you eat dates only in a shake, or a frozen yogurt, or a cake, but never by itself. But you have to floss, and it's just not worth it. Rather in a shake, rather in a yogurt, it's fine. But even one date, if it stays on, and a little piece, it's so sticky. And then you say to them, you know what, do it yourself. Take a date, go like this with your fingers, take a piece of paper, put it on the paper, and you can stick it to the wall. And it really will stick. So that, because of this one boy, I think it saved many patients, because they're all very, very careful now in eating dates. They say, but it's a food, it's one of the 7 species. So say if you put honey on your teeth, it's also going to eat away your teeth. Now, I had a very close friend of mine that phoned me in a panic. He was in agony, and he went to certain friends and they said to him, you know, your migraines could be because of your silver fillings. You should have all your silver fillings taken out.
All your what?
All your silver fillings removed.
Oh, silver filling.
And put white ones in.
That's mercury.
So he asked me, what is my opinion? So I said, before you go down that route, which is so incredibly rare, go to your ENT. Let them refer you to an ENT surgeon. Let them check out if you've got sinusitis or earache or throat infection. He went to his ENT and he had a severe sinusitis. It had nothing to do with his silver fillings. And there was a couple, and you have to be very careful, because many people go into Google, Dr. Google. They went onto a Dr. Google, and they saw that mercury in the fillings is not good. They have to have all the fillings out. And they came to me, and I've been treating them for many years, and they said, we want all our fillings out. And I said to them, no, why would you do that? If it's not broken, why do you want to fix it? First of all, they said, I'm the dentist, and that's what they want, and I must do it. I said, no, it's unethical, and I can't do it, and I won't do it, and you shouldn't do it. And the price involved, but not only the price, even if it was done for free, why would you want to take out something that's working, something that's so good, and put in something that's not as good? Anyway, unfortunately, they didn't listen to me, they had it done, and it's not nice when you tell somebody, I told you so, but about 2 months later, the wife phones me in a terrible panic. She said, I bit on something and I'm in agony. So she came into the surgery and I had a look. And it is as if somebody had taken a knife through the white filling. There was a split, and the whole tooth had just split in half. And the tooth had to come out, and she needed to have the implant. And in all 40 years that I've been doing dentistry, I've never seen a silver filling split in half. If she would have kept that silver filling, part of the tooth would have broken. But, you know, so another good bit of advice, if I can give you all, is if it's not broken, why fix it?
Right.
And if it's working, it should stay there. And, you know, I've just always told the patients this, and, you know, Baruch Hashem, I think it saved a lot of people. So I just want to tell you, dentistry, it's not like you saw in that first video, it's not only doom and gloom. I don't know if you remember Carol Burnett.
Okay, now let's see, I'm pull your tooth out. P-U.
You know, the guy who's sitting in it, he's Jewish. He's Jewish.
Full tooth. Pull your tooth out. Boy, this is gonna hurt. Doctor, if it's gonna hurt, please give me something to kill the pain. Yeah, okay, well, I got some Novocaine right here. Just, hold on a minute, let's see how this works here. Okay, Novocaine. Here we go. Burn hold the hypodermic needle. Right.
You won't feel this.
A little bit of pain, and then numbness will set in. Well, I guess we'll get right to it.
Are you sure?
I'll just give you a little shock here. They're looking a little... Sorry, I didn't, oh, well, now that'll be $20.
Okay, there's a Yiddish curse that we were brought up with, that because in South Africa most of the Yidden come from Lithuania and Latvia. May all your teeth fall out except for one, so you'll have toothache. So, I just want to end off that dentistry for me has been an incredible journey, and I feel very honored and privileged. And I have to end off with the following. I have patients, I don't know if you've heard of Doron and Shelley Peretz. So Rav Peretz is the head of World Mizrahi, and unfortunately they have a son who's one of the captives in Gaza. And they've been patients of mine for many, many years, and they've been friends, close friends and patients. And I was supposed to see Shelley last week, and I was actually very nervous when she was going to come, because what do you say? They did make a wedding, and I wanted to be at that wedding. I have a very close connection with the family, my sister in South Africa as well, and my family with the parents and with the mother gal. And what happened is that she didn't come. The husband came, Rav Peretz, Doron, and he said, my wife just can't come right now. So we all pray for all our captives in Gaza, and that the war should come to an end, and we should just have Besorot Tovot. We must think of them daily, and please God, let all the captives come home and let our soldiers come home. And I must just tell you, I've also been very blessed. I have survivors, grandmothers that I've been to interview, and two of the very close survivors, they are friends of mine as well. Their grandsons, unfortunately, have fallen in Gaza. But we're all together, and we have to pray, and we have to just have bitachon and emunah that they'll come back safely and that the war will end. B'ezrat Hashem.
When you came to Israel,
I learned in the Jewish day school from Kita. So if there's any questions, I'll try my best to answer.
where do you where
And I just want to, in the meantime, if you can...
Cassie would like to say
Okay.
I would just like to say a few words, which some of you have also been interviewed by Les, and I think really that one of the things with the videos that Les does, I understand, many school children really don't understand what has happened to us. And of course, the history, as Rena and all of us know, is fast disappearing.
Very important.
And the way that Les interviews us is simply absolutely so, I would say, dynamic and thoughtful and facilitating. And I can say only that it is a pleasure and an honor, really, to have Les speak to us. And I thank you very much.
Casey, thank you.
I second what you just
A
said.
huge
The
thank you
doctor
to Les.
says,
But I think everyone's taking things, so let's do it all.
the
So
doctor is
first,
saying that what a privilege and honor for him to interview us.
Yes.
What we want to tell him, it is also our honor and privilege to have someone like this in this world to do this wonderful work that he's doing.
Absolutely.
It's really from Hashem.
Sure.
just do Rena and then...
I agree with both of you. He's doing wonderful work. I've been interviewed him. He came South Africa. He interviewed me there. A very important kind of function. But what I wanted to tell you is that Wendy Kahn, who's the head of the Jewish Board of Deputies, just sent me a group of black, I don't know what you call them. In America they call it Afro-Americans. I don't know what you call them there. But they came, and there was a man by the name of Gaten McKenzie. Do you know him? He's running for president. Wendy said he's going to lose. But he said that to call apartheid what's happening in Israel is an insult to apartheid. Because he
It
was
is,
in jail
isn't it?
for 14 years because of the apartheid, and he got out. Now he's running for president because he apparently, after he got up, bought a mine, diamond mine, and became a very rich man. But he said you have to remember the word apartheid is just doesn't have any meaning for us in Israel.
Right.
And there are a few friends that we have in South Africa. Most of them are not our friends.
just take Stuart.
Yeah. Growing up in the UK, we heard about apartheid, of course, and in 1981 I was asked to go out to South Africa to set up a factory for the Cecil project.
Oh, wow.
Which project?
So it's a petrol.
Project,
It's a
which was,
petrol.
making oil from coal.
Oh.
Because
The Germans were doing it.
right. And so we set up this factory in a place called Boksburg, which I'm sure you know.
It was a surely box
And
there.
every morning, I had to do a roll call of staff to find, because they were all black, they had to find out who was in hospital, who was at home because they'd been stabbed or been maimed or whatever. And this was just a fact of life that I could never guarantee how many staff were going to be present on any particular day. So that was my experience of apartheid.
I just want to say that I thank Dr. Glassman because the whole family has been after Joe to either write down his story, and he used to talk about it when the kids would ask, but and he would never sit down and write it. So we all so appreciate that you have finally made the video and we have something that the kids have.
Well,
I think.
Would anyone else like to say? If not, I'm sure Les will stay another 5 minutes,
Sure,
or if
sure.
anyone would like to approach him about saying, about maybe recording their story, would that, yeah, absolutely. And I want to say a huge thank you for a fascinating and interesting talk that was given by Dr. Glassman. So a big round of applause. Thank you so much for coming, and yeah, we'd love to have you back.
And Debbie, I just want to thank Debbie. Was incredible because Debbie gave me the names of quite a few survivors from Cafe Europa that I actually went to see. So I'm extremely grateful, and I'm so grateful to you all, really.
And my grandson is he's the dentist.
I never finished our interview.
I know, you must still...
Even though my son is a dentist, I
Yeah.
Do you practice in Israel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I practice. Thank you again. It was wonderful, fascinating, and wonderful. Yeah, wonderful. You look so nervous.
Do you know by name you lived in Johannesburg? Do you know, did you